Hi everybody on the VC. This is going to be my short video response to the current thread that's happening now about 80s albums that suffer from 80s production. I went through my collection pulling a few out, and well, I think I've got more than 5, but I'll show 5. And the first one I think I'm going to show is this one. This is Dave Gilmour's second solo album. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this. I had quite high hopes when I got this. His first album, or his first solo album, it's on Harvest. Here you go. His first solo album was pretty good, and you know it had the essence of what you'd expect from somebody that plays guitar for Pink Floyd. It even sounded a bit like a Floyd album. This second album by him sadly doesn't. I feel it's got a very 80s production, and I feel it's got an unnecessary use of you know, synthesizers. It's not such a great record really, I don't think. Although I must admit, when I put it on yesterday to listen to it and check how I really feel about it, it sounded better than what I remember it sounding. I guess I was expecting the worst. It didn't sound quite as bad as that. I'm going to put this on in the background. You can hear back like this. That was the Gilmour album. That's what you can hear in the background now. The next record I'm going to show is Signals by Rush. I like Rush. I really used to like Rush once upon a time. Getting to know their music. Yeah, I got to know their music in the 80s and early 90s. But it was it would have been the 70s Rush that I was sort of getting into and learning to like. Listening to this sort of 80s Rush when they kind of drifted over to use a lot more synthesizers, and I think even a bit of sort of synthetic sounding 80s production on these 80s records. I don't like them. I have this one, Signals. It's the other one. There's at least another 2 I think by Rush that kind of share this kind of very heavily synthesized sound and 80s production. I don't have those on vinyl, sadly. Anyway, so that's another one. Pete Shelley, the guy that used to sing for the Buzzcocks. So this is his solo album called Homosapien. It came out in 82, 81. And it has this, you know, this cover with what seems like a very basic, primitive computer on there now. I don't know what it is. I can't have my eyes on that kid. I think it's CBM. You expect it to be a little bit sort of computer kind of style type stuff, and I think that's trying to show some sort of a up-to-date kind of feel to the music, and maybe it did sound a bit up-to-date when it came out, but now it just sounds really dated and tragic. The songs are quite good, and Pete Shelley is, you know, he's the same guy that you'd expect, you know. He sings pretty much the same way as he would do for the Buzzcocks, but well, it could be much better if it hadn't have tried to appeal to the 80s generation or 80s market. This is another album. This is a Phil Lynott album. It's actually called the Phil Lynott album. Again, so this is on Vertigo, and this came out in '82. You get the feeling with this, it's like, yeah, this one and the next album I'm going to show, there's no reason why it has to sound like this. It just does, because they're trying to, at the time they were trying to sort of make a very up-to-date modern sound. I don't think it works so well. I mean, not all the tracks are like that. It's just quite famous for having the Yellow Pearl single on it that used to be a theme song for Top of the Pops. But where this album is let down is, yeah, the times where the 80s production just sort of overtakes. And in a similar vein, you've got this going on as well, Under a Raging Moon by Roger Daltrey. I mean, that track, Under a Raging Moon, is obviously a reference to Keith Moon. So he's, you can see there's this sort of reference to some sort of a nostalgic memory of The Who. So why he feels that it needed to have this kind of 80s big bombastic production. I mean, even to the sort of the big sort of reverb on the drums, which, as far as I remember, Keith Moon didn't play drums with that sound effect or anything like that. So why it's felt necessary that this album had to be produced in such a way, I don't know. But I guess it's just, yeah, an attempt to be up to date and sort of with the market. I might put this on actually. Yeah. So that's Roger Daltrey that we're listening to. It's his first track called After the Fire. The next album, yeah, I'm going to show this one as a sort of a token 80s Yes record. I'll be the first person to admit, I really don't enjoy what Yes did. And a lot of people talk about this one and the album. I can't remember what its title is, but I'll put it here. They talk about this as being, sort of sonically great and everything, but I just feel at this stage they'd sort of lost the plot. They weren't any longer being the inspired band that they were. They felt instead it necessary to try and shape themselves into a different mould for a different market. I guess much in the way that Genesis did, and I'm not even going to go down the Genesis route. I haven't got anything good to say about their stuff from the 80s. But yeah, this record and the other one, I probably listened least to. The production seems to have sort of outweighed the importance of the music, and I wonder if that's something that I think a lot of artists and bands with 80s production end up doing, leaning too heavily on the production for that sort of, I guess at the time it was considered lush and slick and everything, but now it just sounds a bit cheesy and thin. Okay, I'll show these next two records together. Cut the Crap, the last Clash album, and then I'm going to show you this one, number 10 Uppington Street, my big audio Dynamite. Yeah, less said about this the better, I think. It's not a very popular record, is it? Amongst Clash fans. Band has started to fall to pieces at this stage, and they disbanded directly after recording it. Yeah, I don't really know the history, but I suspect it had a lot to do with contractual obligations, that sort of stuff. So the sound is, yeah, not appealing to the 70s punks anymore, but perhaps trying to appeal to the new sort of youth market. And yeah, same about this. I mean, big audio Dynamite, I get really what it was that he was trying to do. Mick Jones was sort of out to make sort of a next generation of perhaps protest music, if you like. Nice to see these two guys here with dreads. You know, it's sort of a visual element of embracing the sort of the reggae music that you could hear quite a lot in the quality of the jazz of the Clash music. But well, I think, yeah, I don't like the production. I don't really like the music. Again, it's dated so much. At the time, perhaps it sounded a little bit forward-thinking. Now it just seems primitive and naive. So yeah, that's my feeling about that. Okay, and then one honourable mention. Not really an album, or it probably appeared on record at one time, and that is the score, the music score to the film Educating Rita. Educating Rita was based on a play, or is based on a play. You can see it at the theatre. And the film was made in the 80s, starring Julie Walters and Michael Caine. Brilliant film. I mean, the play is just magnificent. It's so good, and it's, you know, if you're familiar with it, you'll know why it's so good, what it's about, and how it addresses class and gender and all these sorts of really important things in society, and culture as well, of course. But the score, the soundtrack to it, if you like, is horrendous. Now, when I first saw this film, I would have been quite young. Most of it went over my head, to be honest with you, but I didn't really think anything more to it than that. When I watched it again about 10 years ago, expecting to kind of really embrace this film much more, because I'd seen, you know, I'd grown up and matured and would understand the subject matter much more, I felt really disturbed by the horrible music score in it. And I haven't really watched it since then, because it put me off so much. I guess it's all down to the synthesizer music that would have been used, you know, in the theatre play, but just doesn't fit on a film. It sounds tacky and nasty, and I wouldn't be surprised if anyone had ever thought sometime that they should remake that soundtrack and apply it to the film, because it would make the film so much more enjoyable now. Okay, thanks everybody. See if I can bring out another video soon. Thanks to all my subscribers for watching. Thanks to you for commenting, and watch out for my next video. Thanks, bye.